Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Remember the year of 2004? Arsenal fans should. It was the last time you won the title. It was also a year where Man City finished 2 points above the relegation zone. Back when they did their weekly shopping at Asda rather than Marks and Spencer's. Charlton Athletic were in the hunt for Europe, as opposed to getting beat off Gillingham and Plymouth. So let's have a little look back at the year of football in 2004. Sepp Blatter got the year off to a flying start when he suggested that interest in women's football could be increased by getting them to play in tighter shorts. Good man Sepp, if you could sound less like the creepy old fella down the back of the pub and more like an actual FIFA president, that'd be great. This is a man who, when he was recently challenged on the threat to homosexuals in Qatar for the World Cup, his response was just don't do it over there. And to just be as inconspicuous about your sexual preference as possible. So basically, if Alan Carr goes to Qatar, he's f***ed. No kids, Man City weren't always as rich and successful as they are now. There was once a time when they were the Premier League version of a hobo who once had to stick David James up front, which is why it was all the more remarkable that they actually managed to win this game. Tottenham, who weren't any great shakes themselves, this was back when Harry Kane was still collecting Pokemon cards, found themselves 3-0 up in an FA Cup game. They even had a man advantage after a City player had been sent off. I'll give you one guess who it was, lads. He enjoys a bit of a gamble as well. 45 minutes later, City had turned the game on its head. Kevin Keegan's men somehow pulled off a 4-3 win. One of the FA Cup's great games. Now, Middlesbrough won the Carabao Cup, or EFL League Cup, whatever the f*** it was called back then. And yes, it was their first piece of silverware after 128 years of being alive. It was back in the Stone Age when Steve McLaren had a modicum of respect still in the game, as opposed to now where he has to scrape the barrel in Israel for a job. Nothing of any relevance happened in March, or any March really. It's just a bit of a boring month. Really? The relationship between Arsenal fans and Arsene Wenger is a bit like what I would imagine married life is like after about 20 years. But there was a time when the Frenchman wasn't confined to spending every night on the couch. In 2004 he was worshipped as a god, and as such Arsenal fan TV didn't exist. Well, YouTube didn't exist, which means that there were no annoying YouTubers, much to everyone's delight. The club had just gone the entire league season unbeaten, although they did get dumped out of the Champions League by Chelsea, with Wayne Bridge scoring a last-minute winner before celebrating with his best friend forever. Wonder if they went out for a meal afterwards with their girlfriends to celebrate. Nah, John probably just took them both out and left Wayne at home. Man United won an FA Cup, a tournament they'd sacked off 4 years earlier to go play a bunch of nobodies on the other side of the planet. To be fair, it was probably the biggest mismatch of an FA Cup I can remember. Man United against Millwall. Although considering who they were playing, the Man United fans probably had to treat this one not like they were attending an FA Cup final, but more like they were going to Iraq. They probably had to leave the stadium in riot gear. I hope there's no Millwall fans watching, and Christ above, don't tell them where I live. But in the end, it was a routine 3-0 win. The club would have to wait 12 more years to win another, which seems a bit strange. But Leicester, Leeds and Wolves all dropped out of the top flight. Alan Smith looked as though he'd just been told he had 4 hours to live, but cheered up just in time to sign for the club's biggest rivals. All 3 clubs have since spent time in League One, but only one of them has managed to win the Premier League. I mean, I still don't know how. I don't know. But let's take a brief look at how the rest of Europe did. AC Milan topped Serie A, 13 points ahead of Juventus. I'm guessing this was before the directors became drinking buddies with the refs. Lyon won the French league, finishing ahead of PSG. Back in the days when they could barely afford a clean pair of trainers, never mind a 200 million superstar. Celtic pissed the Scottish league. Some things never change. And let's just see who won La Liga. Was it Real Madrid? I can't remember. No, Valencia. Valencia won the Liga and the UEFA Cup. Real Madrid, with a wage bill the size of Poland, finished 4th. Yeah, no wonder Carlos Queiroz has been managing Iran for the last 6 years. Real Madrid were in a bit of crisis after that, and I'm presuming David Beckham had spent the season crying in a corner over the language barrier, because what other reason was there to flood their team with a bunch of injury-prone Brits? Michael Owen left Liverpool in pursuit of winning the Champions League at Real Madrid. Oh, how did that one work out for you, Michael? He then spent the next 5 years of his life doing everything in his power to get back to Merseyside, and then just said and signed for their biggest rivals. The Friends for David initiative did not work. Owen became the club's ornamental garden gnome sitting on the bench, while Woodgate, I'm pretty sure if someone had locked him in a basement for 9 months, nobody would have noticed. Jose Mourinho arrived in England, fresh from winning the Champions League with Porto, which is a bit like winning the Grand National with a 3-legged donkey. Greece somehow won Euro 2004. Playing a style of football straight out of the Big Sam manual, i.e. how to make the beautiful game look like it was invented by a bunch of unintelligible cavemen, or Tony Pulis. Honestly, I can get behind the underdog, I get that, but that level of organisation, set pieces, route once, horrific stuff. It would suddenly make raking my eyes out with a switchblade a lot more appealing. England didn't do much. Let's be honest, a country's hopes should never rest on a teenager. I mean, Rooney was a terrific talent. While most 18-year-olds are out there drinking cans in a skip and single-handedly keeping Kleenex in business, this man was terrifying international defenders on the world stage. But then he smashed his foot, David Beckham's penalty ended up back in Madrid, Darius Vassell choked, I'm sorry, what was he doing on the pitch? Before the Portuguese goalkeeper put England out. Shrek 2 was the blockbuster hit of the summer, so naturally Man United forked out 30 million for the main character. Their main rivals for a signature were Newcastle, the team who've since been relegated twice and have had John Carver and Joe Kinnear in their employ. United needed to make room for Rooney, so chucked off Diego Forlan for £2 million. 2 million. Now you might think getting a six-figure digit for a man who looked like he belonged anywhere but on the football pitch was a good business. It wasn't, it was horrendous business. Nobody in Europe scored more than him the following season. While he did spend most of his 2.5 years at Old Trafford playing like a hungover plumber, he was a man transformed in Spain. In other news, Xabi Alonso signed for Liverpool, but as we all know, he's no Gareth Barry. Newcastle sacked Sir Bobby Robson 4 months after finishing 5th and reaching a UEFA Cup semi-final. Alan Pardew received the Manager of the Year award and received an 8-year contract for finishing 5th in 2012. We touched on Arsenal's unbeaten run earlier, but unlike Conor McGregor, Manchester United were able to stop the unbeaten run at 49. The Gunners were fuming, considering they lost due to a teenager with a face like a foot pulling off his best Michael Phelps impersonation to win a penalty. The Gunners then took their revenge by graciously chucking a pizza at an old man afterwards. Harry Redknapp wrote the manual on how to get everyone in the south of England to call you a He resigned as Portsmouth boss in November, and obviously couldn't be arsed to move house, so just took up the job at Southampton, and got them relegated. In 2003, El Hadji Diouf was in hot water, when is he ever not, after being found guilty of spitting at an 11-year-old Celtic fan during a UEFA Cup game. Fair enough, Diouf. Who doesn't enjoy spitting at a child from now and then? It's Halloween tonight. Those trick-or-treaters are getting nothing but a face full of Irish spit when they ring my doorbell, but there is a time and a place. A normal human being would have looked at themselves in the mirror and thought maybe just stop spitting at players for the rest of my career. But no, a year later he did it again. This time at Bolton and right into the face of Portsmouth's Arjen de Zoo. Anyway, cheers for watching, lads. It was a bit different, bit rambly, but if you'd like to see me do this sort of thing again with other years, then just drop a like and let me know. But otherwise, if you don't want me to do it, I'll just go myself. Cheers for watching, lads. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.